Welcome to another episode of the Lead More podcast. On today's episode, we sit down with Danielle Bornowski, the founder of DQB Strategies, to talk about how leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs can create content in a fast and efficient way using what Danielle calls the Spark method. So if you've listened to this podcast before, if you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a leader who has great ideas, great thoughts to share, you probably should do marketing for your business, your organization, or your nonprofit, or your team, but maybe feel sort of overwhelmed or feels sort of daunting. A lot of resistance either could be, I don't want to, I don't know how to, I don't have a good microphone, I don't know what to say, right? Whatever it might be. I love to create content. I'm a big proponent of creating content, but what Danielle does today, she really does an awesome job of putting that challenge, that resistance, and putting a box around it to make it easy by applying what she calls the Spark method. And she'll go through each letter of that framework. She kind of demystifies it and breaks it down so that if you're a leader, you can start creating content today and get a whole month's worth of content and really fill up your marketing calendar by being efficient and effective. This is exactly the type of episode and guest I want to have on the Lead More podcast, just to break something down, to bring an expert in their craft, a leader at what they do, bring it here, package it up, and serve it up to you so that you can take it and use it in your life. Remember, the Lead More podcast is to help create more leaders, because I believe the world needs more leaders, and I believe that you, if you're listening to this, are a leader, and it's time for you to step up and lead. So with that, let's go take a listen to the Lead More podcast with Danielle Bornowski. All right, welcome to another episode of Lead More podcast. I'm excited today to be here with my friend Danielle Bornowski. Danielle's from Texas. She's an entrepreneur, and we recently met in another program, another sort of coaching program that we were both part of. How's your day going today, Danielle?
Great. It's raining outside, so I'm just not motivated to work at all. So this is a great excuse to be here.
Yeah, you're being productive. You're having a conversation.
Yep.
And we're also achieving our goal, right? Of like from our class, we got to be on podcast. So I'm helping you check off your list.
That's right. That's right.
But also you have a lot of value to bring today. And I'm excited about it because I know that the listeners of Lead More, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners, people who, are leaders, are growing into their leadership role, will benefit what you have to say. So you're the founder of DQB Strategies. Tell us what you guys do.
Yeah, we're a marketing consulting firm that helps people figure out what to do next. What is the right next step in their marketing strategy?
And it sounds like, particularly to a lot of maybe folks who either are, I don't know if afraid is the right word, but like annoyed by, or afraid of, or don't want to do, or like maybe resistant to marketing, would you say?
Absolutely. Marketing is the thing on your to-do list that's always there and never gets checked off. It's like the thing you don't make eye contact with so that you don't have to deal with it. Those are our people.
Sure. Some people might call me a marketer in my, as a label, but I even feel that way too, because I feel like marketing kind of never feels complete. It's like you could always do more. Like, which is a little bit overwhelming. It's kind of like sales too. Like you could always make one more sales call or one more outreach. But then marketing, of course, is like some of it's very measurable and some of it's very immeasurable. And that makes it difficult too.
It totally does. I think Instagram has, I don't want to say ruined, but here I said it. So it's changed the game, right? It's made it seem unapproachable because what you see is the finished product, and you do not see the everything from the I don't want to do this on my marketing, on my to-do list to that. And so, so it makes it just feels intimidating and feels like you have to get it right the first time, which absolutely you don't, but it also doesn't have to be perfect.
Agreed. Yeah. And we'll get into that. So tell me a little bit about how you got to this, because you have an interesting story of, you probably didn't see yourself as being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, it's definitely a happy accident. I was working, my background's in nonprofit PR and communications, and was working as the communications director for a nonprofit who was undergoing a strategic plan. And I realized that I wasn't the right person for that. And, but it was, what do I do? I mean, do I just leave? How do we handle this? And I just was sitting in church one day and, was like, I'm going to quit my job. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. So I get in the car, afterwards, and I turn to my husband and tell him I'm going to put in my notice the next day. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. Almost like, should he have talked me out of it? And so I did. I put in my notice the next day and just didn't know what the next thing was. And so I was like, I'm just going to freelance, right? That's the thing. I'll Instacart if I don't make enough money, right? That was like the height of Instacart. And I had a friend who was like, I need a little marketing help. I'm like, cool. So that first invoice, was like $77. Like that was my first paycheck, $77. And he introduced me to people, and then all of a sudden it was a business. Like people needed this help. They needed somebody to hold their hand and walk them through the process. And here we are. That was 5 years ago.
5 years. Wow, that's great. Was that bubbling and brewing inside, or was it truly like this like light bulb moment where you just like, I need to change?
Nope. I have never considered myself to be an entrepreneur or to have that kind of a business. I always thought I'd be a nonprofit. I knew that I would just always be a nonprofit. So I keep a roster. I like to still support nonprofit clients, so that I get that mission focus with me. Sure. But here we are also helping people, grow their businesses and be successful.
That's great. Well, 5 years is no joke in entrepreneurship. I know if you get that far, you're already in the minority. So congratulations.
Thanks.
So I want you to teach us today about this thing you call the Spark method. And, I'm excited to dig into it. I don't know all what it stands for, but I know this, like, I've often heard this idea of like batching, batch processing or batching, in the productivity world, but you're going to help us teach that and apply it to marketing. So if the leaders who are listening fit that person we talked about, they're resistant, reluctant, hesitant, scared, whatever it might be when it comes to marketing, you're going to help us solve that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So do we have an acronym for each letter? Is that how it goes?
Yep.
Okay. So let's dive in. Let's break it down. Spark.
Okay. So Spark starts with S. First thing to do is to strategize. And that's like this is our plan, right? It's not our plan because plan and prepare is step 2, but strategize. Okay. And this is the 3 most frequently asked questions that you get from your clients or customers. And one kind of like key insight, like what is one thing that you wish people knew about your business or industry? So we've got this list, right? So there's 4. And if you can see where this is going, if we're talking about creating a month's worth of content in 4 hours, each of these topics can essentially give us a week worth of content. So
nice.
P is for prepare or plan. And this is where you start putting together your talking points. So you've got 4 topics, and then you're going to break that down a little bit and put 3 talking points under each video or each topic, right?
Okay, so I'm going to pump the brakes quick. So we have, for the S, we have the 4 main questions plus a bonus, which is like the thing, or is it 3 main questions and then
3 main questions, 1 bonus? Yeah.
Okay, so so you end up with 4 questions. And I suppose in terms of when you tell your customers, what do people ask you the most? Do they typically know that, or do they have to do they go in? I mean, it's probably some people have this as FAQs on their website.
Yeah. So a lot of people do have FAQs. Sometimes too, I kind of pick at it a little bit like, what are you tired of talking about? Or what do you wish everybody knew? So like sometimes it's price, right? Sometimes that's the first question if you're in a product-based business. But if you're in a service-based business or consulting, coaching,
how does it work?
What's the ROI? Like what, they're asking, there are questions that you're getting asked a lot.
Okay, cool. So then underneath each one, we build out our talking points. That was the P.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So now go back ahead.
Okay. So you want just 3 talking points, right? People cannot remember a whole lot more than 3s. And so these are the critical things that they need to know. It's not to say that you only get 3 sentences, but the 3 things that you want to make sure that you hit. Part of this too is that you're going to record videos. And when you do videos, you get down bunny rabbit trails, you get nervous, right? And so we want to have some structure to follow. So the third piece is A, which I call actualize. Like, here we go. We're doing this now, right? We're not just thinking, we're not just planning, we are doing this. So the kind of 3 critical things that are coming from this. 1 is you're using a tool like Otter or a transcription tool, because that's going to save you some time. I'm all about making this as efficient as possible. So you're going to set up a tool while you're doing your videos to transcribe each of these videos.
Perfect.
Then you are recording your 4 videos for the topics. So the first set is a 5 to 10 minute video about each of those topics. This video is essentially going to go for YouTube. Okay, we're going to hit all the platforms here. Then,
so I'm taking one of the main questions.
Yep.
And I'm sitting in front of my camera, and I'm going to go 5 to 10 minutes just answering that question, just kind of, but using my 3 talking points.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Once you finish that 5 to 10 minute video, you are going to turn the camera off and start it again and record a 60-second video answering that same question. So you got to distill it down.
It's like having all the different sizes of your elevator pitch. Okay, nice. Yep.
Right. And that's the foundation. Okay, so then we're going to move to the R, which is repurpose. And that's where all the magic happens to bring all this stuff together. So you can take your 5 to 10 minute video and your 60-second video and the transcription from these videos and turn it into blog posts. Mm-hmm. You turn it into carousels. You turn it into reels. You turn it into stories or shorts. You turn it into static posts. And all of these are the different kinds of content that the algorithm of the social media platforms want. And it gives a variety. There are different kinds of content that you put in there. And so you're able to appease the algorithm, give your audience stuff that they need. Like there's longer, there's shorter. So that's where we're going with this repurpose step. So,
in this, we're, like you said, we're hitting all the platforms. So we're likely, I'm guessing one of the questions you get often is like, which platform should I be on? Or like, do I need to do all of them? Kind of, what are your thoughts on that related to that question?
Yeah. So you do not need to be on every single platform unless you really are committed to it. Most of my clients don't have the time or the bandwidth or the know-how to do that. So we find the right platforms for them. So like if you really don't love appearing on video, then you're not going to go on TikTok because that is solidly where we are on TikTok. If you can talk for days, like let's make sure that you are on YouTube because it's a great place for search for people to find you. So I encourage my clients to step outside their comfort zone a little bit, because if I really was like being honest, where do you want to be? They'd be like, well, nowhere. I just don't want to be anywhere. I don't want to do this. But we talk about, do a deep dive, like where should you be? And so it kind of depends on the business. It depends on where customers are too. And so that's part of your process in customer journey mapping, right? Is where are your customers?
I suppose back up to your Strategize too. It's like, who are you trying to talk to? Where are they hanging out? Those type of things. Okay.
So one of the cool things about this process is if you don't know where your people are, this is going to put you. You can use this on any, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And so if you don't know the answer to that question, you can just post on all these places, and then you start to look at it and see how people are responding. Lean in that way.
Yep. Okay, cool. So repurposed. I think that's one thing I'm struggling with is like diversifying my content type, because like to your point, I don't mind talking. Like I like to turn the camera on and just talk. It's really easy for me to like hold up my phone and shoot. But then I'm just like reel after reel after reel after, like haven't done a lot of carousels, very little static posts. Like I suppose those algorithms do want that diversified content.
Yeah, because people respond differently to the different kinds of content. And so, you've got reels and carousels and static posts are more savable content. So when people save that stuff, because you're teaching them things, they want to go back to it. It's telling the algorithm, hey, this is good. This is good stuff. So it's like there are 10 reasons for all the different things that we're doing. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah. And I know that points to them to come back to like show more of that person's content, because they're maybe saving that and telling their team, or, bookmark this for later. So absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I have that with I have a shared saved file with one of my team members. I'm like, hey, we post something in here. I love this. This is a great idea, great inspiration. And then she gets a notification and we all win.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So let me tell you like the repurpose, like you want an overview of like what you get out of each of those things?
Yeah, let's do it. Tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So you take the transcription from those videos, that turns into a blog post. needs some refining, but you've essentially got everything's in there, right? Then you take your 3 bullet points, your talking points, and you turn that into carousels for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Facebook. And what's cool about carousels,
generally 1 per or each talking point. Yep.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do 1, like what the actual talking point is, and then the next slide will be a little bit more detail and explanation. And so then that gives you essentially 7 slides, or 8. If you do the first one as your title or your hook, then you've got the thing, the explanation, the thing, the explanation, the thing, explanation, and then the end one would be a call to action.
Call to action slide. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
So then you're going to use a tool. I like to use Opus Pro. You take when you've uploaded your video to YouTube, you put your YouTube link in there, and it goes through and pulls snippets for you and adds captions. It's amazing, and it's free. And so this is going to extract short videos that you can use on stories and shorts. Sometimes if they're longer, you can even use them as reels.
Nice.
Yeah. You're going to go through the transcription and pull a couple of quotes, and those are going to be static posts. And so again, we're using everything that we've got, and we're just like picking the bones clean, right? So those are static posts. You also are going to look at your customer testimonials that connect to the questions that you've answered. And that gives that peer-to-peer kind of feedback. And so you're going to get static posts out of the testimonials and be able to refer back to this content.
Yeah, so if we go back to our main questions, we could almost have a testimonial that almost answers every question, or that sort of like satisfies the need for that question.
Yeah. You're getting somebody else to tell the story for you, sell for you.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So then you can use that content for a weekly email. So if you have a newsletter or an email list, you can share your blog in your email, and there's a month of content in 4 weeks of emails.
And my marketing knowledge kind of didn't get too deep into the SEO world, but I know there's always like the fear of duplicate content, or I don't feel like I hear that as much. So like taking in this repurpose theory, like the blog post, the newsletter, if it's outside of a little bit of editing, it's relatively the same. That's okay. There's no penalties there. Okay.
Yeah, because you have to think about that less than on social media, at least less than 10% of your followers are going to see any of your content at any given time. So you need to be repurposing. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a waste of, if you put one post up one time and then never use it again, you've wasted the time and effort that you put into that. Yeah. So you've got to keep churning it. Yeah. So go, I mean, and here's the thing, if you even want to skip Spark for right now, go back for the last 3 months in your content and start repurposing some of it. There's so much available.
My VA and I have a Google sheet, because we're up to probably like, I think 60 or so unique clips or reels. Still trying to figure out the right amount of repurposing, or like, was that one even really good, or should we, change it up? But like, it is encouraging when you start to build this library of content. Like we now have a Notion doc just to like archive all the content that we've already made.
That's perfect. Yes.
But that repurpose one, I think, is and using the tool, like you said, many of the stuff is Zoom. It's like built into the tool, or Otter. You can connect it to your Zoom call and transcribe all this stuff.
Yes, there are lots and lots of tools to help you through this process. So K, getting to K, that is Kickstart. Yes. So you've done the thing, and you're really proud of yourself, and also a little bit nervous when you start, like, do I pull the trigger? Here we go. So yes, K, Kickstart, do it, launch this. Share, schedule your content on social, schedule your emails, and then do like what you were saying that you and your VA do. I have a Google Doc, and it's got the topic, right? I've got my content pillar. So I have the Dropbox link so that I know exactly where to go find that video again. I have I put the length of the video so that I know where I should use it next. If it's under 60 seconds, I know I can put on stories. And then I also put the date that it was used. So I know, when we are repurposing, when we can do it again. So keep all that organized. And as you do this, month at a time, all of a sudden you're like, I have so much content, I'm overwhelmed, and I don't even have to create more content right now. So it's a good problem to have. It's cool to build it all up that way.
So tell me, what's like the reaction when you implement this Spark method into clients? Are they overwhelmed at first, or do they be like, oh, now I get it? Or what do you kind of hear typically?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to kind of walk through the process and show them like, okay, this is exactly what we're getting out of it. And then when they see it for the first time, like, oh my gosh, like it's amazing to you feel so accomplished. Like they're excited for the next round. They're nervous for the first one, right? Then the next one, they're ready and excited. And then it's like you get to a point where like almost overwhelmed because there's so much possibility. They're like, oh, we had an FAQ. I'm like, great, write it down, save it for the next session. So so it just starts to snowball. And that's essentially what we do with clients. We start small, take these small steps one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, and then it just snowballs. And here we are. You've got a content marketing machine, essentially.
Because you told me before we went live and clicked record, what was the volume? You rattled off how much content this Spark method can create.
Yeah, so these 8 videos, essentially, right, about 4 topics, you can get 20 reels, 8 carousels, 12 static posts, 12 stories, 4 emails, and 4 blogs.
Yeah, and so if you're a small business, if you're a solopreneur, that's close to a month's worth of content, right?
Like, yeah, it's posting 5 days a week. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, okay, so every weekday, yeah. Yeah, and these are probably businesses that maybe can't afford a full-time marketing person, likely, and they're leaders who have great ideas that they want to create content and share, but are just not sure where to start. That's fantastic. So talk a little bit about how you've seen doesn't have to be a specific to this Spark method or a specific case study, but just when you've helped somebody break through that sort of resistance to do marketing or that fear of marketing, and what's on the other side of that sort of transformation when they finally come around, or you feel like you help them get a breakthrough?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that people get excited. They go from that don't make eye contact, side eye look, to like starting a list on their phone of like, oh, we could do this. I could talk about this. We could record a video about this. And it's like starts the creative process for them. It's, and it's just it's the coolest thing. And I think, people, they start showing up, right? People start seeing them posting these things, and then they get that feedback. So, they'll be like, yeah, I was at the grocery store and somebody was like, I love all the videos you're doing. They're like, oh, well, thank you. So someone noticed. And so it's just a cool, I feel like they sit up straighter, they're ready, they have a plan, they have purpose for how they're going to get in front of more people. Cause that's what we need, right? We all want to get in front of more people so we can make more money and live the life we want. And this is such a cool first step.
What's your answer to I have one, but I'm curious what yours is. The answer to like that resistance to like, nobody cares what I have to say, or like who would listen to what I have to say, or who would watch a video of me talking for 10 minutes? How do you answer that one?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, that's, I don't know that I have a standard answer. What's cool is that usually by this point, we've done a deep dive, and I can see who they are and I can see the passion that they have. And that's what shines. Like, that's where people they're connected and they're drawn into the business that you have. And so I get to point that out to them, like, hey, you sold me, right? Like I want to be all of my clients' client. Right. And so they're excited and they're doing amazing things. And so it's just kind of that reminder, like, you are doing this, and having somebody in your corner, that's not talking, your brain is talking you down. And I'm just going to keep talking you up because everybody can do this. Because you're here doing this thing that you're doing on purpose.
Yeah. In this long tail world of the internet, even if you're a local business or a small business solopreneur, like, someone's out there looking for what you're having to offer or sell, right? And it's a lot more powerful of an offer when I can also hear you talking about it, or hear a video of you breaking down your expertise on, why you should plant perennials versus something else because you're a local greenhouse, right? Like, I can think of a friend of mine who owns a family greenhouse, right? Like, I would watch that video because just for Mother's Day yesterday, we were planting, flower pots and doing all that stuff, right? Like, just having like that expertise, that domain knowledge about something that you're passionate about and sharing that with the world, I think is really cool.
Yeah. So one of the things that it also does, John, is it saves you time. So you're investing this time to record these videos. It saves you time because if these are frequently asked questions, you can always point people to these answers. You can say, if you have a sales call with someone or you meet them or they sign up for your email list, hey, here are some of our most frequently asked questions, or here are the things we talk about the most with people. So it's saving you time from these people asking you these questions, and it's developing that rapport. So people have to know, like, and trust you to do business with you. And they get to know you, like you, and trust you while they're hearing, what you talk about, what you do. So it's an automated sales machine that's happening kind of on the background. Saves the time and effort for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And both of us are, in different worlds, but like in the sort of the knowledge space, coaching / kind of consulting space, and the ability to have that archive of content when someone asks you that very specific question that you're going to get again and again, and you just say, actually, here's a 5-minute video that exactly answers that question. Yeah. Not only is it efficient, but I think it makes you look professional, right? Like you look prepared and you've already got thoughts on that because you created a great piece of content. All right, let's finish with some of the most common, common resistance that you get. You had this thing that you mentioned about you let your clients have some excuses, but only a couple. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So everybody's got an excuse, right? There's a reason that today is not the right day to do this thing. A lot of times it comes with appearance, right? My hair doesn't look good. My makeup's bad, whatever. There's also technology concerns. Like, I don't have nice equipment. Or I don't have a fancy thing. I don't have that. Or the light's not good. Like it's dark outside today. Like, should I have canceled? Oh yes, probably so. Right. But here's the thing. There will always be a reason not to do it. And so you have to schedule the time on your calendar and hold yourself accountable to it. And then when you get there, if you have these excuses, you've got to figure out what's the priority, right? Because there always will be. So I encourage people to write down all their excuses. Like, what are all the reasons you wouldn't want to do this? Write them down, and you get to pick 3 non-negotiables. And those non-negotiables can stop you from recording video, but they can only stop you 2 times in a row. After that, I'm going to come bang on your door and be like, here we go. Like, I'm doing it. Like, I don't care if you have rollers in right now. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Go out in the garden. Let's go. And so what it does is it gives you a little control, right? Because you do get to pick your non-negotiables and say, this absolutely is, it's a real thing that I struggle with, a, self-confidence thing or something. So you get to have some control over that, but you also I got to give you a little bit of a kick in the butt. Like, you're going to do this, even if this one thing isn't on or what isn't working. Yeah.
There's some nice reverse psychology there. And I'll grant you some excuses, but not all of them. You don't keep changing your excuse each time.
Right.
So yeah, that's good. I love that. Well, I like this Spark method. It's clear, it's easy, and I definitely get this as a coach, and that's one of my goals on this podcast is to be able to make things digestible and in a framework. I think this is nice to teach and easy to implement for any solopreneurs, leaders, business owners. So one of the ways I always like to finish, I think you have a wealth of knowledge beyond just how to do marketing and create social media content. So what do you think, Danielle? I always like to ask, what's your superpower, the thing that you do best?
Yeah. My superpower is making people feel comfortable. So whether it's in a conversation, whether it's doing something new, whether it's trying this thing on, that's what I do, is make people feel comfortable so they're ready for it.
I can totally see that. Just from the last few weeks, I've gotten to know you and our cohort. I could totally see that, which lends itself to adopting a lot of things, whether it be marketing tactics or whatever else you're teaching. Is you got to first make your customer or client feel comfortable, for sure. I love that. Awesome. Well, if somebody wants to learn more about what the work that you do, where can they find you, Danielle?
Yeah, I'm just at DQB Strategies everywhere. My name is Danielle Bornowski. Easy to find.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on Lead More Podcast today. And we'll see you online. Take care.
Thanks, John.
All right. Thank you, Danielle, for joining us here on the Lead More Podcast today. Remember, you can check out more about Danielle and learn about her organization at DQBstrategies.com. And you can find more Lead More Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, wherever it is. Why don't you go and leave us a review? If you enjoyed that episode, tell Danielle, leave us a review if you think you could use the Spark method yourself. And also, I've mentioned this before, but you can now watch this on video format too. So if you want to see where I am in my office, if you want to see what Danielle looks like, go check the Lead More podcast out at YouTube. Go to youtube.com, search John T. Meyer. You'll find me there, and you can watch the Lead More podcast as well. All right, leaders, as always, take care and be well.